Before the Iron Throne, there were the Seven Kingdoms. It was a land of ancient borders and eternal blood feuds. To the north, the Starks ruled the ice from Winterfell. To the west, the Lannisters sat upon their gold at Casterly Rock. And in the Riverlands, the cruel King Harren the Black had spent 40 years building Harrenhal, a fortress so massive it bankrupted a generation. For a century after the doom of Valyria, the Targaryens sat on the island of Dragonstone. They were the last of the Dragon Lords. In 27 BC, Aegon Targaryen decided the waiting was over. Beside him were his sister wives, the warrior queen Visenya and the graceful Rhaenys. Together, they held a power no king in Westeros could match. 3 living dragons: Vhagar, Meraxes, and the Black Dread himself, Balerion. The Landing. The Conquest didn't begin with a grand battle, but with a simple message. Aegon sent ravens to every corner of the realm. From this day forth, there would be but one king. Those who bent the knee would keep their lands. Those who did not would be destroyed. He landed at the mouth of the Blackwater Rush with a small host, barely 3,000 men. The local lords surrendered without a drop of blood shed. They were the first to realize the new reality. You cannot fight what you cannot reach in the sky. The Burning of Harrenhal. But Harren the Black was not so easily cowed. He retreated into Harrenhal, the strongest fortress ever built, believing its walls were too thick for any ram and too high for any ladder. Aegon met him at the gates for a parley. Aegon offered him a choice. Yield now and you may remain Lord of the Iron Islands. Resist and your line ends. Harren laughed. He believed stone does not burn. He was wrong. That night, Aegon flew Balerion high above the clouds until the dragon was nothing but a black speck against the moon. Then he descended. The dragon's breath was so intense that the very stone of Harrenhal began to glow, then crack, then run like wax. Harren and his sons died in their highest tower, cooked inside the very walls they thought would protect them. By morning, the strongest castle in the world was a melted ruin. The Last Storm. While Harrenhal burned, Orys Baratheon marched south to face the Storm King, Argilac the Arrogant. Argilac was a warrior of the old school. He would not be smoked out of his castle like a rat. In a battle known as the Last Storm, the sky turned black and a howling gale tore through the valley. Amid a driving rain, Queen Rhaenys flew Meraxes through the storm, turning the field into a muddy slaughterhouse. Argilac the Arrogant died as he lived, fighting. Orys Baratheon slew him in single combat, ending the line of the Storm Kings forever. Orys took Argilac's daughter, his castle, and his words. Ours is the fury. The Field of Fire. The greatest challenge came when the kings of the Reach and the Westerlands joined forces. They marched with 55,000 men, the largest host Westeros had ever seen. Aegon met them with only 10,000 soldiers. The two kings thought victory was certain until they heard the screams from the sky. For the first and only time in the war, all 3 Targaryen dragons were unleashed at once. The Field of Fire was not a battle, it was a massacre. 4,000 men burned to death in minutes. The dry grass of the Reach became a sea of flame. King Mern's entire line was extinguished in the heat. King Lorne of the Rock survived only by fleeing through the smoke, and the next day he knelt in the ashes. The Kneeling Kings. The news of the Field of Fire traveled faster than the dragons themselves. When Visenya flew Vhagar into the courtyard of the Eyrie, the Queen Regent of the Vale found her son, the boy King Ronal, sitting on the dragon's knee asking for a ride. The Vale surrendered for a flight in the clouds. At the Trident, Torrhen Stark brought 30,000 Northmen to stop the Conquest, but when he saw the ruins of Harrenhal and the size of the 3 dragons circling overhead, he chose wisdom over pride. He crossed the bridge and laid his crown at Aegon's feet. He became known forever as the king who knelt. Aegon's genius wasn't just in his dragons, it was in his mercy. He didn't come to destroy the nobility, he came to unify the nobility. He used the dragons as psychological weapons, the ultimate bend or burn ultimatum. But one kingdom remained, Dorne. The Dornish would not meet Aegon in the field. They vanished into the mountains and the sands, striking from the shadows. In the desert, the dragon's fire found nothing to burn. It was a lesson Aegon would never forget. Some things cannot be conquered, only endured. The legacy. Aegon built his capital where he first landed, King's Landing. He took the swords of his defeated enemies, thousands of them, still sharp, still scorched, and melted them together with Balerion's breath to create the Iron Throne. He made it jagged and uncomfortable so that no king would ever sit easy on the seat of power.